Don't look now, but a week from Thursday is Thanksgiving 2013. It's a Monday morning. It's 9:30. It means it's time for another edition of Weber This Week. We welcome you to FingerLakes1.com. I'm the Dog H. Weber with you with another edition of our show. We hope that you had a wonderful weekend. I know you're getting all excited about the holidays, Thanksgiving being late this year. Of course, it'll be upon us a week from Thursday. I know many of you will be traveling, and be safe out on the roads or on the airplanes, etc., etc. We welcome you to our show on a Monday. We've got lots to talk about. A longtime friend of mine has joined us on the couch this morning. Nick Sciotti joins us. And, of course, I've known Nick an awful long time. And Nick has the embellishment or the thrill of having played golf with John Hilbert for a ton of years. And first off, Nick, that's always had a bit of thrill playing with John.
Yes. Again, thanks for having me, guys.
It's great to have you.
John Hilbert is always very entertaining on the golf course.
Well, Nick Sciotti is with us, and who is Nick Sciotti? Well, Nick's going to tell us a little bit about himself, and obviously he's here because he is the newly named Mynderse Academy varsity basketball coach. We'll get to that in a minute. But, Nick, for our viewers that may not know who you are and what you do for a living, give us a little background check on where you went to school, etc.
Again, I'm not from the Seneca Falls area. I went to high school in Mount Morris, went to college at Alfred State, and that's where I met my wife, former Gabrielle Lombardo, and she is from Seneca Falls. So, again, those college boys, we follow the women all around. So
that's right.
I trailed her to Seneca Falls, and I went to RIT. I have an accounting degree. I've worked for Seneca County for 30 years. And
that's amazing.
20. I just, again, ran for my seventh term as the Seneca County treasurer.
And that's obviously been keeping you very busy as well.
Busy enough, yes, yeah, along with the kids.
A lot going on. Now, of course, you've always been a sports guy. Obviously, you've enjoyed the world of sports. What got you in, I should say, without further ado, that you certainly took over for a legend, Mike Fields.
Correct.
Tell us about your interest and when you joined the Mynderse Academy coaching staff and how you got elevated up to be the number one guy right now.
Well, initially, I started when Kevin Laux was the varsity coach. I helped out with the varsity. Then I did a couple of years of JVs. Very crazy then. I had my daughter was playing. My son was coming through the program. Decided that maybe it was time to step away. Didn't really think it was maybe great to be coaching when my boy came through. And as I said, time-wise was crazy. So then I was away for 1 or 2 years and realized I really missed it. Love basketball, liked the kids. Approached Mike, and Mike had taken over at that point. And he brought me back, and I've helped out JV varsity, coached JVs another year, and then I've been with the varsity the last couple of years. And then Mike decided to step down last year. Applied for the job, and we'll see if it was a good decision or not here about 4 months from now.
Well, certainly, speaking of taking over the program, it's going to be quite time-consuming.
Mm-hmm. No question.
You're now in charge of a celebrated program where, of course, Mynderse Academy basketball has a history of outstanding teams, has a great legacy as far as playing good basketball. So let's get right to it. Your first game will be the 30th of November.
Correct.
That's a week from this coming Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
FingerLakes1.com will be broadcasting via video and audio. We're glad to announce we'll talk about the actual schedule. We'll do the first game, obviously, and that game will be at Clyde-Savannah.
At Clyde on the 30th.
Tough opening.
I don't know if it was very smart scheduling on my part my first year.
I
didn't realize they had all the kids back that they were going to. They're going to be a very solid team, but
you got to play them one at a time.
Got to play them, so it'll be a good barrier for us.
Let's talk about the 2013-2014 Mynderse Academy squad. Why don't you take each individual as you can remember and talk a little bit about them and what you expect from them as far as how they're going to mesh into the team.
Sure. We start with Luke Ruddy. Obviously, Luke's been this will be his 4th year in varsity. He was a Fab 5 player last year. Very high expectations for Luke. The good thing with Luke, he's 6'5", but he's not just a post player. I can bring him. We scrimmage Saturday, and we have him in the middle of the press break. We have him out. He could run point guard if he had to for us. So we can move him all over. He handles well. He sees the court, shoots it well. Again, big expectations for him, and he's looking Division III. Hobart's been they were at scrimmage Saturday. Nazareth, he's being recruited at the Division III level. Good. The other starter back's Jason Anderson. He's going to move over to point. Again, same as me, big shoes to fill. He's filling in for Brandon Pasalacqua, a 4-year starter, just he was a great steadying influence for the team. That's going to be tough to replace. But Jason's a very skilled basketball player. So we're excited about those two kids. Probably in the starting five, we'll have Liam Kerr moving in as a two guard, his second year on varsity. Three, looking at a Brian Johnson, who didn't play last year, came back out for his senior year. So he's looking at the 3 spot, and then the 4 spot maybe Cole Fletcher. Again, his second year in varsity. Those 3 guys didn't get, obviously one didn't even play, but the other 2 didn't play very much last year. So we're limited in our minutes for the other 3 starters. Off the bench, Jared Coffey, a senior, gets some minutes in the 5 spot, backing up Luke, maybe some 4. So not a lot of minutes backing up Luke, I can tell you that. So Luke might play 35 of the 32 minutes games. So Jared's coming off the bench, and then I have 2 freshmen up that'll be coming off the bench. Devin Verkey, another Verkey in the line. Another Verkey in the line.
How many Verkes are there?
I don't know. I stopped trying to count. There's more than my fingers, so I can't count that. So Devin's he's a solid player, big kid, just like Dylan. No, he's 6'2" and weighs about 65 pounds. So
I see Dylan had a great game a couple weeks ago.
Dylan
27 points.
Yeah, I think Saturday night or
he lit it up,
last Thursday night he had a great game. Yeah, I guess he's doing real well.
Devin's FLCC, is it?
FLCC, yep. Yeah. Devin looks like a solid offensive player. Good skill there. And then Brett Anderson, Jason's younger brother. He's a freshman, so I have 2 freshmen that'll be coming off the bench. And they're pretty solid. Again, no varsity experience, and a lot of work there. And then Ryan Majors up from the JVs. He's a junior, first year. He'll be the 9th man. And then I have 3 guys, also two more seniors, Fletcher Reese and Zach Bishop, and then Rory Orlando, my 3rd senior. That won't see a lot of playing time, but good kids, work hard in practice.
You never know when you got to get called on.
You never know what you
Always
need,
be ready, right?
Bottom line is be ready. Yeah, what's the next term they're using? Next man up. It's a big term I'm hearing a lot.
Now, let me ask you, you've coached the JVs. How much of a transition is it from JV to varsity? Major transition for some of these kids?
For the kids, yes, significant. The
caliber,
pace of the game.
The caliber, right.
Yeah, the pace of the game. You'll see from the JV level of varsity, 2 or 3 kids maybe each year can play out of the group that, out of the 8 or 9 that are playing on JVs that can advance and keep playing. And I think the speed of the game is so much quicker, and their movements, everything. You just have to, again, stay up with that.
Nick Sciotti's our special guest this morning, and Nick is on the couch. A reminder, next week, of course, I'd like to preview upcoming shows. Jeff and Tina Rook are one of the 2, or whoever they bring in from the committee for the Wonderful Life 5K run, which Jim tells me there's thousands of people that show up for that event to run. Of course, that's a big deal in the month of December. They'll be here next week promoting that, talking about where they are in the preparation of putting that on. But that was a small event, as Jim knows full well, since he videotapes it every year and puts it on fingerlikes1.com. Jimmy, it's just been out of sight. The
registrations this year are up from last year,
amazing.
So they're expecting over 4,000.
That's amazing.
And they also, on their website, itsawonderfulrun5k.com, they have a store where you can buy some pretty awesome It's a Wonderful Run hats, scarves, gloves, all sorts of stuff. It's actually very nice. It's awonderfulrun5k.com. But yeah, it's gonna be big. It's going to be over 4,000 people come to town.
I got to give them a little plug. I've ran in that the last couple of years, and I think the Rooks, Korzaninskis, I don't want to leave anybody out. I don't know if there's somebody else like me. Just an unbelievable job they do coordinate that. That's with 4,000 people to get that event off, and it's real impressive.
Amazing.
A lot of fun.
You can only imagine. Yeah, and you can only imagine how all the logistics of it all.
Oh my God!
Yeah. So they do a great job.
And they'll be here next week, so that'll be our next show. And of course, Jim will be doing a show the following week. We're looking for someone to bring on the 12-2 and then 12-9. Jim will be here to bring in Win Sports. Jimmy, talk a little bit about that on the 9th. The young man, Doug
Willard. Yep, runs a club, Rochester Win Sports. You see those guys on Seneca Lake on the surfboards.
Yep.
And when it's windy, that's him. So they come down from Rochester to do that too. We'll talk about the sport, find out how much it costs to get into it, and how much skill level, that type of deal. So
be interesting. Yeah. So those are upcoming shows. By the way, Nick Sciotti is our guest this morning at Weber This Week. We hope that you are having a good Monday AM wherever you're checking us out. Nick, your philosophy as far as coaching goes, are you of the mindset you like to run and gun, or do you like to slow it down based on what the score is? What is your adaptation to the game of basketball? What do you like to do?
First, what I like to do, I love to play 94 feet. I like to get up and down the court. I like to press. I like to push the ball.
Right.
Not so much bombing away the threes. I like to get the ball up the court. I like to attack the rim. I don't know if you watched Michigan State play Kentucky the other night. I love how they advance the ball and those guys attack the rim. I'll take a layup anytime I can.
Yeah.
So that's my preference. Now, all that being said, you also in high school you don't recruit the athlete, your players. So you got to adapt to what you have for a team. And I'm weighing that right now. I'm not sure I have the best pressing team right now. So in scrimmage Saturday, we played half court man-to-man defense. Again, philosophy is we got to be able to play that real well first before I extend it out. And I thought we were struggling a little in the half court. So you might see us in the Clyde game just playing half court defense at this point. Because again, until you perfect one thing, I don't want to have three things that we're doing poorly. I want to make sure we're doing the one thing well. So that's philosophy. But
yeah, well, we're going to talk about your assistants too. Let's give some credit to who's going to be assisting with you this year.
Yep. Dr. Bob Ruddy's back again. About 7th, 8th year with the program. Very nice of him to give his time, and obviously Luke's his boy. He has another son that's in 9th grade that's on the JV team, Kyle. He's about 6'3", I think, in 9th grade. I don't know what the genes
Those
are.
Ruddies grow him up big, huh?
I guess. They got a real tall mailman, one of those two.
That's right.
So Bob's helping, and Dave Panucci, who actually played JVs for me 10 years ago approximately. He's coming back to help out, so we're going to get some young blood in there. 2 gray-haired guys and then a young guy in the middle. So he can keep us hopefully in tune. And then at the JV level this year, Jason has taken some time off, and Scott Johnson is going to be coaching JVs.
Scott, okay. Good.
And he's actually roped his brother in. That volunteer assistant role's tough, unpaid a lot of time. He roped his brother into coming and helping out a little bit. And the modified level, Jim Bruni's back again. He's a teacher at school. He's been doing modified for a few years.
Now let's talk. Nick Sciotti's our guest this morning on Weber This Week. And, of course, Nick, every coach has a philosophy as the importance of winning. We're talking about high school basketball here. Most coaches have a different view. To you, certainly being your first game coming up a week from Saturday, what is your philosophy? How important it is to win? Obviously, you want to win, but how important is it to you as a coach, or is it just to see the kids build up on their abilities, and that's satisfactory to you as long as they try hard for you?
Well, ultimately, your everything's based on winning. Your your review, your critique, whatever. So you do want to win. My thought process going in November 14th, November 30th. I want to play the best we can at that point. I want to see the kids play hard, but it's a work in progress. I mean, it's a 4-month season, a long season.
It is a long season.
I want to see us peaking February 15th. So everything's expectation. Our expectation for the scrimmage yesterday or Saturday was at a certain level, and I thought we were okay with that. But if we play at that level next month, December 15th, I won't be happy.
That's right.
January 15th, I'll probably retire if we play like that. But it wasn't so bad that day. Again, it's a work in progress, and again, we got to do our job. I have to watch the film all day yesterday and know the things we have to work on, and that's what practice for tonight. Say, hey guys, here's our shortcomings. Our closeout defense was weak. We didn't contest shots well, and then we'll work drills on that, and then hopefully kids work hard.
I think the attitude is great. As long as the kids give it your 100 percentile, show up on time, be available for constructive criticism. That's what you're supposed to deliver as a coach, and certainly let the chips fall where they may.
Right.
I
told the kids day one, my goal for the team is everybody's at a certain level individually, their fundamental skills on November 4th. And February 15th, I want to see everybody on the team's fundamental skills be here. And then the chips fall where they are. If everybody improves and we improve everybody, as a team, we'll play well. Now, that might mean with some team skill, 3 wins. Yep. But that's a successful year because everybody improved. Some teams, it might be 18 wins. Depends on your skill level.
How's the league look this year at Finger Lakes East?
Finger Lakes East, I don't know if you guys know, Whitman is now in the West. I don't know if you've seen that.
I did know that.
So they dropped out. So we only have 8 teams, 14 league games. And I think it's pretty strong. I see Newark, Geneva as pretty solid teams. Us, Wayne,
We're on the street. Waterloo's getting
Pelmac.
better too. They got a transfer in. That's a good player.
Yeah, Jeff. He didn't say he recruited him, but he had a transfer in. We'll get on that Jeff with later. But, Waterloo's going to be better. I think Mid-Lakes will be a little bit better. Whitman was one of the weaker teams in the league.
Sure.
So losing them, again, makes a stronger league schedule. And then our non-league, we're going
You
for
know,
us,
you had to
Lions
add
and Clyde.
teams, add games that you normally wouldn't. And what a great
Yeah.
I love it. I don't know as a coach in your first year if you love it as much as I do, but when I look at the schedule and I see Lions, Clyde twice, that's awesome. I think we should play those teams all the time.
Yeah, that was. I'll tell you guys, I did it. It was, if it ends up being a mistake, it's all on me. Those are two tough teams, but I think it'll make us better. And the other thing I didn't care for, I'm not a big fan of traveling an hour. It's hard to find non-league games. So last year we had to go to Elmira over Christmas break 2 days in a row, and I said, you know what, let's grab these local games. It makes for a nice competition. Last year we played Clyde. The Waterloo gym was packed.
A lot of fans, yeah.
It makes it fun for everybody in the
They
community.
do a nice job.
I agree.
You said the coach. For the coach, maybe it's not too smart, but
For everybody
else, I think it's good.
That's right. Nick Sciotti's with us this morning, and this is a time of the show that we take a break and hear from our great sponsors to make this show possible. When we come back, we'll get Nick's opinion on some other sports. I'll have some comments about SU football and a host of NFL scores to go by. And those Denver Broncos, aren't they tough? They may be in the Super Bowl come the month of February. We'll take a break, come back after this. Cayuga Lake National Bank. Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora. A fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquors, Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her great team will find that right spirit for you every time. Tell Amy the dog sent you. Steve Wadhams, Wadhams Enterprises, your employer of choice. Proud supporter of this show and local athletics. Steve Muller Motors, smullermotors.com. Quality, affordable vehicles, both foreign and domestic. Bob and Leslie Oman, owners of the Oman Theater in Lyons, as well as the Newark Pilots, a minor league baseball team with a major league ballpark. Lizard's Tailgater Lounge, Waterloo. Best Mott Sticks around, where you can enjoy a drink and some laughs. SenecaFallsCountryClub.com. Awesome 18-hole layout, offering a 12-month payment plan. Home of the toughest par 4 in central New York. That'd be number 16. Marshall Auto Sales. DickMarshallsAuto.com. Awesome used vehicles, where you not only can buy a great vehicle, you can gain a great friend in Dick Marshall. Wilson Press, wpress.com. Seneca Falls, Rich Ricky, my good friend, and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Rich Ricky, Wilson Press, a fine sponsor of Weber This Week. Ah, yes, we're back. It's a Monday morning, the 18th of November. It's the Dog H. Weber with you with another edition of Weber This Week. Nick Sciotti, the newly named Mynderse Academy varsity basketball coach, is my special guest, and we're kind of outlaying the landscape as the Blue Devil team will start actual games in FingerLakes1.com. Let's take a minute and just run down a few of the schedules that we have here on Finger Lakes One. Jimmy Senecropi's done a great job with our sponsors to line up people to support this. And, of course, the first game that Finger Lakes One will be broadcasting. Telecasting will be Mynderse Academy, your team traveling to Clyde-Savannah, where I had made a zillion trips in my career as a broadcaster doing play-by-play, Nick. What an outstanding place to go. It's not great always because you come over that bridge, but it should be an opening that you'll not forget for soon. That's a great area for basketball. The fans turn out in big numbers.
They have a good turnout. It's very close. The community support it well. Again, we were talking about it on break that last March we played them in a crossover game, and it was the Waterloo gym was filled. So I think it's a natural.
It's a natural.
Just a natural. It's just great.
So that'll be our opening. That'll be our opening broadcast on Finger Lakes One.
Clyde.
That's right. Brendan Harrington will be doing the play-by-play for game number 1 of FingerLakes1.com's coverage. Matt Verke, need not introduce him. He will be, of course, the color man And, of course, Jimmy Senacrope has lined up Corsi's. Corsi going to work that first game, too?
Yeah, we're going with a 3-man booth
Nice.
for the opener. It's big time. I mean, I like to give it a big-time feel. I think that is the big-time way to kick off the season.
I love it.
Mynderse at Clyde, so we're going with a 3-man booth.
And don't worry about your food at Reds, but Jimmy has gotten Jeremy Hunt, the Mr. Cameraman. He's been working with you for how many years, Jimmy, doing these things?
This is our 3rd year, and to be honest with you, Jeremy's as big a part of it as anybody, and I couldn't do it without him. And he does run the camera during the game, but he's really a production assistant. He's here before we leave, helping to pack up. He helps set up, break down, and we review what we did together. We watch the game after and talk about what we can do better next time.
He's a main addition. Game number 2 on December the 4th will have us in Romulus, New York. Dundee will come to Romulus. David Barnick, a name not unaccustomed for play-by-play. I was lucky enough to hire that guy back in the 70s, so I'll take credit for hiring Dave. And, of course, Verk will work with him as well. That's Dundee at Romulus on December the 4th. December the 10th, Geneva at Newark. And, of course, covering that game will be the team of Barnick and Korzenowski. So there's a few of the games. And then on December 17th, Pelmac travels to Mynderse. Harrington and Verke will cover that game. Elsewhere, let's talk about Geneva coming and taking on the likes of Waterloo on December 20th. And that, of course, is Dave Barnick and Korzenowski. And the dog is coming back out of retirement. I didn't do any games last year because I worked part-time at the Thruway. It didn't fit my schedule, but I'm going to make it fit to do a few games this year. I missed it. On December 27th, yours truly will be back in the play-by-play booth, broadcasting with my buddy Matt Verke. We will have Nick's team, Mynderse Academy, my alma mater, Clyde-Savannah returns to Seneca Falls. I'll get a chance to call that game, and I'm looking forward to it. On the 28th of December, Lions will travel to take on Mynderse Academy, and, of course, that should be a very fine game as well.
Back-to-back games.
Back-to-back games.
Awesome. And when's the last time Lions and Clyde have been to Mynderse? I don't think I can remember.
Not that I know.
It's been a while.
So
I got some weird looks on that from a few people. You scheduled those 2 games back-to-back? So it's a good test for us.
Yeah, it is. And a great way to spend the Christmas break.
And also on January 10th, Panyan travels to take on Newark here on FingerLakes1.com. On the 14th, Newark will travel to Waterloo. I'll have that game with Matt Verke. On the 22nd, Lions travels to Clyde-Savannah. That should be a humdinger.
Big rivalry game.
Talk about arch rival games. On the 31st, the last day of January, it will be Wayne traveling to Newark. On February 7th, it'll be the likes of Waterloo taking on Mynderse Academy. Need not introduce that game.
Well, that game, Dog, is going to be a doubleheader now. We're doing the girls at 6, Waterloo Mynderse girls at 6, and, of course, Waterloo girls went to the state championship game last year, and they got their whole team back.
Exactly.
So Jerry Anderson, first-year coach of Mynderse, I don't know how happy he is that we put that game on, and then after that, it's the boys, Mynderse Waterloo boys, so it's a doubleheader that night.
And our last regular season game of the year for FingerLakes1.com, I'll be behind the play-by-play booth as Newark girls come in to take on Waterloo girls, which is always a classic. Mm-hmm. So that's a rundown on FingerLakes1.com's schedule. And, Jimmy, before we get to a couple of notes on the world of sports, you were talking about Upstate Orange, the Orange basketball Tears. Give us a rundown on what's going on with that program.
Well, Thursday night at 9 o'clock is our first episode of the Upstate Hoops podcast with Matt Verke and I. We cover the Wayne Finger Lakes League's high school basketball. Coaches, players come in for interviews, and that kicks off for the season on this Thursday night at 9. And then at 10 o'clock, Upstate Orange podcast. We've done it for the past 2 Thursdays. Actually, our debut episode had over 1,000 views.
Wow.
Everybody excited about Syracuse's first season in the ACC. And so we talk college basketball with Verk and I, and Brad Connor phones in from Cincinnati. The guy knows more about college basketball than maybe Jay Billis. And so that's Thursday night basketball every week throughout the season. You can start at 9 and turn us off at 11.
Hey, by the way, let's and I think Nick and Jim would agree with me, let's spotlight Hobart football. What another phenomenal year, unbeaten again. You know, Nick, when I started following sports way back when, and I started realizing Hobart was in Geneva, a fine school, Hobart meant to me lacrosse.
Right.
And they certainly have a fine lacrosse program, but boy, oh boy, between them and William Smith and their program, sensational. What a job that football team has done.
It's amazing.
Another unblemished record.
The boy from Dundee,
Webb.
Phenomenal.
Stephen
Webb.
Webb.
Stephen Webb. I remember he played basketball. He was a physical specimen, boy. Yeah. Back then I seen him.
And kudos goes out to 2 area high school teams. Yes, they both were defeated. Red Jacket Indians. And my granddaughter's favorite team, she goes to school in Geneva, the Geneva High Panthers, both losing, but nothing to be ashamed of. To Geneva fans and to the likes of Red Jacket fans who may be checking me out this morning on this show, give them a pat on the head, buy them a cup of coffee or a Coke or something, shake their hand. They deserve it, including the cheerleaders. What outstanding seasons both Geneva had as well as Red Jacket. Yes, they came up short, but as you advance, as Nick and Jim know, and I certainly know, as you advance to get into the state with the big boys, these things are going to happen. So
sectional champs, both of them, though.
Nothing to be ashamed of. I cannot say enough good things about both of those schools. They had a yeoman phenomenal season. And by the way, I was kidding Jimmy about his SU football team. I was going to give him the line, which Las Vegas quoted at 38.5 points. I was going to call him and make a friendly wager. I did not. Jimmy's thankful I did not make the call. They won by 56. And it's one of the few games that I can recall having consumed 6 Cheez-Its, and it was 21-0. 6 of them.
Only 6.
I started eating one at a time. And I took a deep breath, and I said, what in the heck happened here?
I was so excited. For the game.
Yeah, I know.
So excited because I thought, games like these are where you can, like when we beat Nebraska.
I know.
Or even last year when we blow out West Virginia, but you're big time underdogs, but you think this is where we're going to make our mark, and within 10 minutes into the game they're down 28-0.
Goodbye.
Yeah. So luckily this basketball game started at 4:30 Syracuse Colgate, so I could flip.
Listen, SU football, they're not in the big powerhouse anymore. They're got to get there someday, hopefully. But the way I look at it. I think Clemson, Georgia Tech, and Florida State obviously are better than they are in that division. I certainly think Syracuse is probably 4th best in that division. They're going to beat Boston College. They're going to beat Pittsburgh.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. They only need one more to become bowl eligible.
Pittsburgh's in the same situation as us.
Exactly. So it's going to be interesting. I mean,
they need that win.
When you look at Syracuse and you look at Florida State, and Nick, you followed sports a long time. Yes, they say they put their pants on like Syracuse does. No, they don't. They push a button and they automatically come up their legs and go on. Because there's no way. You look at that caliber of talent, and even Syracuse football team at the end during the post-game conference when they went to the locker room, they said, man, they are good. They are good.
We'll find out when they play Alabama, which I hope happens.
Well, I do too.
To see that
I do too. I hope it is up. And now the quarterback's under jeopardy. There's a cloud over his kid's head about a potential sexual assault years ago. The state attorney's office in Tallahassee, by the way, will make a decision next 2 weeks, either move to arrest or move to say goodbye to it. So that's going to be very interesting too. But you watch Florida State and their athletes, and you just marvel. You shake your head. So much
third
speed.
Teamers coming in.
It's just amazing. And by the way, speaking of, I was always using an adage on this show about the rich get richer, the poor get poor. Why do the Alabamas and the Florida States and these teams continue to be good? And me and Jim have talked about this on many of these shows. Because the greatest high school players in the country, they got to start coming to Syracuse. Remember the Fab Five in Michigan? Mm-hmm. Somehow we got to get 5 5-rated kids to come to Syracuse to turn Syracuse from a decent team to a major power, where Darryl Gross promised us years ago. Why does Alabama why are they always great? Why do these teams continue to be? Well, I clipped this article out, and I got to read it to you. Jim, this is old news for Jimmy. On his 18th birthday, Woodbridge, Virginia defensive end Deshaun Hand, like your hand, gave Alabama football coach Nick Saban, like he needed a present. The #1 recruit, according to Rivals.com, and the #5 player in the world in high school football, has chosen to go to Alabama.
Surprise.
Nick, any other comments to be made? I mean, come on. This kid is one of the most sought-after kids. Florida, Michigan were also in contention, but he went with Alabama. My only point is that's the trouble with major college football, because they always are staying great because the best players go there.
Right. Kentucky basketball.
Yeah, they all go there. And they just and you could say the same thing about Boeheim at SU. Mm-hmm. He gets a lot of the cream of the crop. Mm-hmm. SU basketball, Carrier Dome, every game on TV. Syracuse always top 10, top 5, national championships. Somehow we got to get Syracuse football with some of those big horses that are 5-rated, not 3s.
It takes 1 or 2 recruits.
It does.
I mean, it took 1 or 2 recruits for us to take the next level from the Greg Robinson years back to going to bowls.
I understand.
And,
just amazing.
And Florida State hasn't been good in a long
No.
time. Good, the national championship good, and I think that's one of the big problems is that, if you want to guaranteed to be played for a national title, there's only one place you go, Alabama. It's the only place you're guaranteed. So of course everybody's going to want to go there. Now, if there was an 8-team playoff or 16, then you might get some more disparity. And as far as basketball goes, yes, Boeheim and Duke and Kentucky, they get all these recruits, but they don't win every year. They're not in the Final Four every year, these programs, because of the way the league is set up, the competition. So
would they go to a 4-team playoff next year?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the playoffs. Who wouldn't love to see football playoffs? Same thing.
I
I don't like the one gamer. I mean, I'm a Notre Dame fan, but last year probably didn't belong in the national championship game. A 8-team playoff would have been great. Maybe it would have been Oregon. Somebody that could have given Alabama a better game.
And, of course, I was going to pick on your team, the next comment, relative to I hear about Brian Kelly and how that team is called a major college power. Excuse me, you have to come from behind with 2 minutes to go to beat Navy at home. Mm-hmm. You go on the road to lose to Pittsburgh. If you're a major college program, Notre Dame has got the legacy, as you know, being a fan. Yep. You can't lose to Pittsburgh. You just can't lose to Pittsburgh. You got to beat Pittsburgh.
I think the quarterback there, huge. That Golston. Now again, I read an article in Sports Illustrated on the other day. I'm real impressive. He made a mistake. He owns up to it.
I know.
And he's doing everything. He's going to come back next year and play. A lot to his credit there, but it's killing the team this year.
It is.
Because he's a heck of a quarterback. If they have him, I'm not so sure they're not 9-1, 10-0 at this point.
I stopped at Ronnie Cedar Inn, of course, a Notre Dame haven up in Geneva, and I thought he was going to be closed after losing to Pittsburgh, but he was open. And you look at some of these other developments. Frank Beamer, Virginia Tech, a well-celebrated coach year in and year out. He could be in trouble. That team is struggling. And Gordy Heinzman sat here way back when on show number 1 with him when he had his granddaughter come in, Jimmy, and was talking proud of the Hokies. I don't think he's even talking today. They lose to Duke.
The ACC championship game could be Florida State Duke.
Yep. Isn't that scary?
Yeah.
And Duke. And Krzyzewski's not coaching. That's what I say. Are you kidding me?
He doesn't coach the football
team?
And
how about the last – we're running a couple minutes past, but how about the Auburn-Georgia final? Did you see that final play?
Unbelievable.
Are you serious? Georgia with control of that game, 30-some seconds to go. Auburn quarterback gets back in the pocket, time running out, throws this Hail Mary. Not one Georgia defensive player, but 2 jump up. All they got to do is knock the ball down. Georgia wins. I don't know what they were thinking of. Not one, but 2 of them. Right. And it tips off their hands, and it tips off in the air. Who's there? Oh, an Auburn kid. And he fumbles it, and he grabs possession, runs in for a touchdown. Are you serious?
Phenomenal. Berman, I'm sure Berman, I haven't seen it, but his favorite, knock it down. But you've seen a lot of those plays, but I don't think that was the most impressive one I've ever seen because the Auburn guy was 5 yards past him. The ball happened to bounce forward to him, a couple of bounces.
Yep.
By the way, quickly, NFL, give credit to the Bills. I'm not a Bills fan. You all know that, but give them credit. They looked good yesterday. The Jets set an NFL record, by the way. First time in NFL history through 10 games that a football team has gone 1 loss, 1 loss, 1 loss, 1 loss, 1 loss. That means Baltimore's in trouble next week. First time in NFL history that's happened. And by the way, you got to give kudos to the likes of Tommy Coughlin. They were going to hang him 6 weeks ago or 10 weeks ago. Now he's 4-6. And he's got a shot at that division.
4 in a row.
Very impressive.
He's got a shot at that title.
Yep.
Of course, keep in mind, if you just came in from Moscow, Aaron Rodgers did not play. The quarterback for the Packers. That's huge. And the Browns take an early lead against Cincinnati, only to see the Bengals score 31 in the second quarter, and they blew them away. And, of course, tonight, I'm not normally turned down about Monday Night Football, but tonight
Syracuse
is a good
St. Francis in the Dome. Basketball game.
Well, let's talk about football. Carolina against New England. Should be a good one.
Yeah, Carolina's come along.
Cam Newton.
Impressive.
Cam Newton, their defense, one of the best in the NFL.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them beat them tonight.
It's going to be interesting. So you get into it, and I love the Giants story because Coughlin, they were trying to hang him up at the nearest tree, and all of a sudden, they have a viable shot to make that division. That'd be amazing. That'd
have to be a first. I haven't read it.
Yeah.
But 0-6 never make the playoffs.
It's never happened before in the world.
not even win a division.
Well, Nick Sciotti's been kind enough to join us this morning. And, Nick, of course, you head basketball coach of the Mynderse Academy Blue Devils. Certainly, I wish you nothing but the best, and we'll see you on the trail.
Thank you.
And
good luck this season,
and
Nick.
we certainly hope that the team plays hard. I know they'll play hard.
Play hard.
And,
hope you're saying the same things about me after the first
don't worry
games
about
or so,
that.
yeah.
Certainly, we won't pick on you for at least a couple years.
All right, that's good. Fair deal.
Certainly don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, tonight the New England Patriots take on the likes of Carolina. Should be a good one. And Jimmy's always psyched for that SU. And by the way, if you're a Yes Network watcher, Center Stage, which is hosted by Michael Kay, the play-by-play guy for the Yankee broadcast team. Jim Boeheim is the guest, and of course they repeat that show 1,000 times. Channel 47 on Time Warner. Jim Boeheim, the guest for Michael Kay.
Great interview.
On Center Stage.
Hour long with Boeheim. It was
excellent.
really good. Talked about Lions. Talked about playing ball in high school.
And don't forget, next week, the Rooks. Somebody will be in here. Jeff Rook and maybe his wife Tina, whoever will be in to talk about the Wonderful Life 5K run. Should be a lot of fun coming up in December. Hey, folks, if you'd like to come on our show, we have an open invitation. Nick Sciotti's joined us, and so we had to drag him in here. But if you'd like to come on, talk about a charity event, if you want to plug your son or your daughter, your nephew, your niece, we don't really care what it's about. You're invited to join us here on Weber This Week and talk about anything that comes to mind. Just keep it clean. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Nick, again for joining us.
Thank you for having me,
Nick
guys.
Sciotti joined us this morning on Weber This Week, and you all have a nice week and get that turkey ready, baby. Thanksgiving coming up a week from Thursday. Until next week, this is the dog saying, see ya.